Hello, welcome to the Newbie Club, another festival edition where we highlight the top 10 finalists from Nukhufest. I'm Sanjay, the founder of Nuku, and I'm joined today by 2025 finalist Alice Roth, the director of a short film titled End Meeting. How are you doing today, Alice?
Doing well. Thanks for having me in the fest and all around.
Of course, it's our honor. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your film?
Yeah, it's kind of like a millennial horror story about a woman who is experiencing her coworker having a medical emergency on Zoom. She has to figure out how to help her remotely. She's in an office. Her coworker is remote, and she's so it's kind of like empty office, like horror comedy. But yeah, it's I don't want to spoil it too much. I've accidentally revealed the plot of like what happens by saying it. It's a 10-minute short, so don't want to give it away.
Of course, you want to keep an element of surprise alive so that people will actually go and watch it. But I do think that it's a very timely, relatable project because a lot of us work from home these days or are familiar with the work from home lifestyle. And I'm curious, where the inspiration from this film came from and why you were compelled to tell this story.
Yeah, I heard a news story about basically someone having an emergency on a Zoom call and no one could help them. And that kind of sparked something. I just kind of like held on to it for a bit. And then I got laid off from my job. And so I kind of like combined a couple different stories and like pretty much was like, man, it all just like came out in a weekend because like it was a piece that was just like cathartic to write. And I also had been processing a lot of like working in corporate media for 10 years. And so it kind of just like all came together in this one like concentrated short.
Unbelievable. The inspiration certainly shows. And you had a lot of notable performers in the piece. And even though it was, kind of in a singular location, we always know the challenges of kind of putting together a short film. I'm curious, what were some of the challenges you faced while making this?
Yeah, the location was honestly so hard, which like I should have known better. But I when I wrote it, I was like, oh, empty office space. That's everywhere in New York. Like there's all these empty offices. I'll be able to find this no problem. And it was just not like it was not possible to get the kind of like luxury office space that I was looking for. They were charging like $20,000 a day, which was like pretty much like more than, way more than half of our budget. There's no way that we could afford that. So what ended up happening was these folks at Backlot Productions, which they're basically like a production company that specializes in locations. I scouted like these old WeWorks that they were basically sitting on as locations for productions. And then they said if you shoot on the weekend, then you can use our office, which was an old WeWork. So that ended up working really perfectly, and yeah, that they were really great and like understand the limitations of indie film, right?
Of course, it's a great story, when you find people that align with, the heart of his indie filmmaking and understand the struggles of kind of financing with limited resources. I love when kind of there's synergy like that. And what about the talent? How did you connect with the talent?
Yeah, I got a casting director, Allison Twideck, if I'm saying her last name correctly. But yeah, my friend Nick Colia is a filmmaker, and everyone should see his film, which is called Griffin in Summer. But he connected me with Allison, and she was amazing.
Awesome, awesome. Expanding network, more plugs for your community. I love it.
I just like wanna plug all the collaborators because basically it's like you know how it is. Everyone does you a favor and you want to pay it forward.
Of course, of course. So, I'm curious, in terms of your approach or style as a filmmaker, yeah, how would you characterize it? Where did you take your influences from or directors that inspired you to make this?
Yeah, I honestly The Apartment is kind of like one of my favorite movies and a huge influence. I was looking at that a lot. My friend James was my production designer, and we were talking about kind of setting this like, we can't do the huge like set that they had. That's like these repeating desks, but we really wanted to capture that kind of feeling. And then was really getting into the like Alan Pakala's like Paranoia trilogy, which is I think on Criterion now. But All the President's Men has been one of my favorite movies for a long time, and my friend turned me on to the parallax view. And when I was talking to my DP Dan Whitrock, we were kind of zoning in on what that look and feel was. Right, like we don't have the money to shoot on film, but like what is the kind of naturalistic environment that we want to set it in, and like use the heightened comedy to just like be there and not be like part of the set. I mean, we did do with like some jokes. We have like that swag table, and when we found the location, there was this huge like neon sign that said "Be brave," and it was like beautiful. Like I couldn't have come up with that. Yeah, just really wanted to have that texture of it feeling like a really real place, because these offices like do feel, you feel kind of crazy when you're in them alone, like it's just kind of this like ghost town. So that was like really the thing to capture, because I was even looking at The Intern, like Nancy Meyers movie, and it's like all of these movies that are set in offices all are like bustling, and that kind of doesn't exist in the same way as it used to, because now I'm back in another corporate job. But it's really funny because sometimes people will be on Zoom calls in offices like next to each other, but talking to each other on Zoom. Like, I've seen this happen multiple times. Or like they'll look around and be like, they're all on the same Zoom call, like 30 person. And it's like, don't just go to a, like, some of you go to a room. Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's like, it is, we're living in this really weird time.
That's hilarious, Alice. You stumbled across the evolution of the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it's like, I don't, I actually am like, I'm not like everyone has to return to office all the time. But part of the reason why I wanted to do production and not go further on the corporate ladder was because I do value that like feeling of being with a team and doing something. Like I don't want to be locked to my computer all day. And so yeah, I think there was a lot of like just a lot of Zoom feelings that came out through this, but I didn't want it to be like a screen life movie either. Like I wanted to get out of the Zoom. I wanted to do those stylistic shots that's like you're in a different world when you're like those extreme close-ups, and then yeah, shooting the computer practically was kind of out of necessity in terms of we didn't have a VFX budget, but I think it like really added to it because also like the actors could act off of it. And yeah, we recorded Catherine Curtin in my apartment here the week before we did the other stuff.
I definitely appreciate the realism. I think the lack of resources, lack of VFX resources, kind of lend itself to the realism of the film, and I can appreciate also, your influences and how you were saying there are a lot of films about working spaces where they're bustling, but this film, you really kind of draw that opposition, that complete different environment where it's desolate, there's no one in there. So is there anything specific that you want people to take away after having watched this film?
I mean, really, it's like do the things you want to do in your life. Like being on your computer, being on your phone, it's not like that's not going to really bring you that much happiness. It can bring you like temporary dopamine rush, but yeah, I really think we just need to like be out in the world, like taking care of each other and hanging out. I mean, let's just hang out more. That's really what I want people to take away.
Definitely, yeah, more real time interactions.
Yeah.
So, do you think that this film, like making this film, changed you at all, or maybe you could tell us about some of the things you've learned after having gone through the experience?
Yeah, I learned so much. I mean, it was the best I've ever felt on set. I've been doing a lot of nonfiction interviews or kind of like semi scripting things, like a lot of explainers for different magazines. Did a lot of Wired videos, Architectural Digest, home tours, that kind of thing. And this, I had gone to school for writing and I had all of these, like, I still have like a stack of, proverbial desk drawer like screenplays, but I never wrote towards directing. So this was like the first short I wrote specifically to direct. And then when it all came together on set and I was directing actors, I was just thinking, like, this is what I used to do when we would put up like no budget, so, like things in a black box theater. And it's like I have those instincts that like kick in because I love working with actors, and they bring so much to it that's just it's like gives me chills when when you do rehearsal and they're like asking about motivation. Like I get really nerdy about that stuff. So yeah, it was just like really what changed is like I was like this is the thing for me. Like it really felt that, and I'm so excited to do more. Like I can't wait.
I think even as a first time on screen director, you really can tell that you understand the craft. You can tell that, in trying to make it a cinematic story with limited resources, you understand the other elements that can contribute to that experience. Like the score itself, really lends itself to immersing the audience into the kind of heightened world that you've created.
Yeah, and, like, again, I'm gonna keep plugging people. My friend Matt Hunziker edited it, and he is, like, one of the funniest people I know, and Dash Hammerstein, did the score, and we were all just, like we were all jamming together, like, we were just like, "Okay, what is this?" Like, what we should have some kind of, like, comedy moment, like, Dash did the, like, podcast score at the beginning, and, yeah, we just really, like, went, like, beat by beat and talked through, like, all the different things, and I think that yeah, I gave him, like, some social network score, like, examples, and he was like, "Okay, not sure," like, I don't know, he was like, "It's interesting that I was playing it so straight as a thriller that, like, it kind of everything else was, like, just let it the comedy just kind of, like, come out," if that makes sense.
I can see that actually. I can see the social influence score. I can see that influence, and I can see how maybe it kind of affects how you perceive the comedy that's happening.
Yeah, it was I was really lucky, and I feel just, like, so happy about being able to work with people that you feel on the same wavelength with. It's just it's such a amazing feeling to kind of to be able to, like, play off of each other in that way.
So I think it's great that you have such an amazing network, and you're leaning on that network to create more work, and hopefully that continues to happen for you. I'm curious, like, how do you see the landscape now in terms of opportunities for independent filmmakers?
Yeah, I mean, like, the dying industry, but, I really think that the fact that there's platforms like Letterboxd and that there's all I mean, living in New York, there's all these, like, repertory screenings and all of that, but I think that the rise of popularity of, like, niche, like, cinematic not cinematic, but, like, cinephile communities and it becoming kind of it's not like it's like someone's whole personality, but it's like becoming more popular to really engage with film in the way that people like engage with books, honestly. I think it's going to be more similar to the publishing industry than what Hollywood was and what like television was. I think at this point our phones are like the new TV. Everyone freaked out about TV in the 50s, right? But now people are like, I have to put my phone away to watch TV. So I think, yeah, I feel like as long as people, you know, want to engage with stories and have critical thinking skills, then movies are still going to be around. But who knows how long that's going to be? And then, like maybe the AI will just murder all of us. I don't know.
No, I agree in terms of the viewer standpoint about the demand for filmmaking. I think a lot of it is going to come down to the intentionality behind wanting to watch or engage with films in a longer format as opposed to like short form swipeable content. But for filmmakers themselves, I'm curious, how you're kind of navigating that space yourself.
Well, I think I am just like trying to move forward with what I can control. Like I can control, like I have a feature. I'm like working on a rewrite right now. I'm gonna try to make it. I'm like that's all I can do is just be like I'm gonna make this and just keep going. And
I
I don't
love
know,
that.
my it's like you just are delusional until it happens is the way that I feel. So I'm in the delusion phase right now.
No, fair, fair. I think there you have to have a level of delusion in order to pursue this craft. I think the ambition and the passion is there, which is great. So, is that feature the next project you're going to be working on, or is there something else you're going to be working on before then?
Yeah, that's the big thing that I'm like, having to cancel social plans to get done because it's like, yeah, it's really hard. And I'm just like, okay, it's going to be a challenge. It's an uphill battle. No one wants to fund something they're not going to make money off of. It's an art piece, basically. I just have to like really believe in it and keep it going. So that's kind of what I'm focused on. I am making videos for the company is now called People Inc. No comment. I make videos for People Magazine and Entertainment Weekly. I'm doing some food videos for All Recipes. So I'm kind of just like expanding my skill set in different ways. I do really like documentary. I haven't had the chance to do like really long like follow doc. I feel all my friends who are super talented documentary filmmakers. I mean, those are like 10-year projects, right? Like it's like you really have to have the story emerge from just being there. And I've kind of been working in this digital space where it's like we have a 1 day shoot and we just need to capture like XYZ thing. So it's hard because it's like I don't even know. Like I call it doc style because it's nonfiction, but it is more like the way an article would be. What I like my favorite kind of verite documentaries. So I'm kind of interested. There's some subjects that I'm interested in pursuing for documentary, but yeah, right now I'm just kind of like honing directing skills, trying new tricks, trying new things. I'm always like asking my DPs, I'm like, do you want to try anything on this? Like, and we're like, okay. And then sometimes I come back with the footage and they're like, why is this rotated? I'm like, oh, I just shot something with the, yeah, anyway, I'll, I'll tell you later.
Well, no, I definitely appreciate that experimentation and then exploration in the craft. You obviously have to make money in order to kind of sustain your living and sustain your pursuit of this craft, which is great that you're doing work for so many other publications and companies, but that you're also able to afford yourself the time and space to work on longer personal projects.
Yeah, I just have to put like my social life aside for a bit.
The sacrifices we make as artists.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for sharing with us today, Alice, and your participation in Nukhufest. Is there anything else you wanted to add for our viewers before we wrap up? Socials, where to find you, how to get in touch?
Yeah, I'm like trying to be on Instagram more and I don't know, I'm on Alice Rothology and then I do have a Substack, but I'm currently like not working on it. But that's all that information is all on my Instagrams.
Cool. Check out Alice Rology and check out her Substack. Be sure to watch and vote for End Meeting on nuku.com and follow Alice to learn more about her upcoming projects. Thank you, Alice, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.